Oh, baby, I like it raw. Oh, baby, I like it raw. To quote the great ODB, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's the Stomp Retro Review Classic Raw Retrospective. And who is serenading you with these beautiful angelic pipes? Well, that would be Michael Lawrence Potter. What would happen if MJF was off Temu? But I am a wrestler. Yeah, it's fair enough, right?
It's fair enough. It's fair enough.
I am a wrestler, I am a actor, and as of right now, I am a podcaster coming out of the freezing cold Wadayama, Japan, here to take you along the trip from 1993 all the way to the present day as we chronologically critique Raw from its very, very humble beginnings to the Paul Levesque era, if we're still alive at that point. But of course, I could not do this alone. Over on the other side of the world, he's got an exam tomorrow. His time is precious, but he has decided to grace us with his wrestling acumen. What would happen if Jim Cornette and Eddie Graham had a baby and started dressing like Austin Theory? The great 1/5 of Stomp Wrestling, Ricky Ricardo WrestleDrop. How you doing, buddy?
I don't know how to feel about that introduction. I don't know how I should feel. Jim Cornette, Eddie Graham, and Austin Theory style. I'll take that, actually. I'll take that last one. But no.
I'm looking at, hey, listen, you got the mind of Jim Cornette. You've got the
Is that a good thing?
Of Eddie Graham.
The mind of Jim Cornette.
What are you talking about? It's like
his wrestling mind might be one thing, but his general mind. Have you listened to his podcast, like a full podcast of his? Some of the shit that guy spews. No, I'm not having that. I'm not having that.
Hey, listen, when you're in your 60s and you've had to deal with the insanity that is the wrestling world, I'd like to see how corpus mentis you are, sir. And I want to have a bad word said about my wonderful grandpa, Jim Cornette.
No, I enjoy Jim Cornette, but his mind, a little bit screwed up.
Well, we're all a little bit shaky somewhere.
True.
Ricky, tell us the news. What are you up to?
Not much, man. Just going through life, struggling through life, actually. Exams right now, but taking my precious time, like you said, and putting it into 1993 Raw. I question all my life decisions, really. I could be doing so many better things in this.
I was going to say, don't you think that the study of finance is kind of the idea of return on investment, applying your time in order to get something out of it? What's the return on investment here? Just from your mindset.
So monetary, nothing. The only thing I'm getting out of this is a bit of entertainment, and that does not include your sing-alongs in the beginning of every episode. The only entertainment I'm getting is the rants that we go through in this video, especially later on. We might have a little one about a certain somebody, brother. But
oh boy.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing here. I really don't.
Well, you know what? It's that kind of existential crisis that is the precise energy that's required to watch this episode of Raw. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So we are coming to you live from the Manhattan Center. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're still there.
We are still there, and don't get used to it because we are going to be moving soon. We are 1 week after Valentine's Day, so correct me if I'm incorrect. That's the 22nd of February, 1993.
That is correct.
22nd of February, 1993. I don't need to tell you who was on the top of the music charts. You know it's Whitney Houston. But in a surprise turn for the somewhat up and down movie and box office of the time, Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, still on top. Nothing's changed. If you haven't seen it yet, highly recommended. A very good feel-good comedy film, especially for this time of the year with the holidays coming in. It's something nice to break up your usual viewing.
I still haven't seen it, by the way.
I really think you should. You of all people would enjoy it.
I'm going through a little bit of a movie period right now where I'm watching a whole bunch of movies I should have seen but I've never seen. Groundhog Day is not on that list, but I think I should put it on that list.
You should put it on. It's a bit of a dark horse. I'll tell you what you can do if you want your full Bill Murray experience. Watch Caddyshack or Ghostbusters first and then watch Groundhog Day. to kind of see him play something more comedic and then something more straight. It's man, he's good. He's a damn good actor.
Okay.
But let's get into the news section of what was going on around the houses in the wrestling world. And the one thing that I wish we could have, and maybe your editor can help out with this, you know that Woody and Buzz meme where he's going like that? Like something everywhere.
Okay, yes.
All I can say is Jeremy McDevitt, his phone must have been ringing off the hook because there were just lawsuits in wrestling everywhere. So to start off, let's head on down south to WCW in Georgia, where Mr. Cowboy Bill Watts has officially been fired for creating somewhat of a, let's say, an uncomfortable work environment. Can't imagine what they're talking about. He always seemed like such a nice guy to me.
A reasonable guy.
So they've decided that, of course. So they've decided that they need to go away from a hard-nosed, badass, takes no guff, completely alpha male, rule-dominated human being like Bill Watts and go to someone a little bit more chilled. Like Ole Anderson, which I just saw that. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I love Bill Watts and I love Ole Anderson, but let's just call it what it is. Ole Anderson is just Bill Watts from Minnesota. Like that's it. Like they're both these hard-nosed, take no guff shooter wrestlers who, although are brilliant at what they do, they're not exactly known for being, I guess, flexible.
Yeah.
And so Ole Anderson is in. Now, obviously, Ole Anderson, very well known for his time as part of the Anderson family with Arn Anderson, an amazing wrestler on his own account. And a very, they were not, but that's part of it's part of the kayfabe.
That's wrestling.
But what's quite interesting is that because WCW is obviously now Turner owned, they're looking to be a little more corporate facing where they understand, which is something that they forgot during the era of Kip Fry and what was his name again? The pizza guy, always that guy took over WCW in 1992. Oh, it doesn't matter. But anyway, basically what they've decided is that they need to have a wrestler in the booking chair to hold the pencil. But they also need someone who's a little more business savvy, someone who's a little more aesthetically pleasing, someone who's able to talk to the network execs. And the guy that they've decided to put in as the WCW VP is a long-haired, very good-looking ex-model and salesman who used to do color commentary for Vern Gagne, a guy by the name of Eric Bischoff. I don't
Interesting
know.
name.
Yeah, interesting name. I wonder if he's ever going to be anything in this industry, but apparently the two of them actually work as
a complete failure, but anyway.
And the two of them work as a very good team, which is quite funny. Ole Anderson and Eric Bischoff, that is. Once again saying, Ole Anderson, hard-nosed, as old school as you get. Eric Bischoff, a little more willing to embrace the new, a little more lenient to talk to the suits. It'll be interesting to see where the power dynamic goes there. Yep. But speaking of power dynamics in WCW, the first thing that has to be said, there's no more speculation, and there is absolutely no question. Ric Flair, is back, baby, and he is going to be in with a lovely, lovely new contract and will be around as soon as the brand new Super Bowl at the end of this month. But Ric Flair, although he was signed to a very lucrative agreement, not the biggest contract in wrestling right now. Ricky, who was the biggest contract in wrestling at this time?
If you're referring to the notes that we have and not someone else that I don't know, then
no.
Big Van Vader got the biggest contract in wrestling. I don't have the figures with me right now. I'm not sure if you have them there.
Oh, don't worry. I do. As a wrestler and as an actor, you take a look at these kinds of contracts and you salivate at the prospect of one day having something like this. So Leon White, Big Van Vader, has just signed a contract with the new shoot style UWF in Japan for one of the most lucrative contracts ever. Now, to be clear, this is not the biggest contract, but it's more about, you're doing a finance test tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's the idea of return on investment and the idea of labor versus outcome.
Yeah.
He is getting $200,000 for 8 matches.
Crazy.
And if you remember anything about a Vader match, if you see a Vader match that lasts over 10 minutes and it's not against like Ken Shamrock or Minoru Suzuki, then something has gone horribly wrong here. And here's the best part. Just for signing his name on the paper, he got a $50K signing bonus.
Crazy. At this time, with a brand new company, that's honestly crazy that he got that much money.
It's crazy, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, 'cause it reminds me a lot of when Jericho got signed to AEW, in the sense of that your first big signing essentially dictates the flavor or the ethos of the company that you want going forward. Now, you're a company that's based in shoot style wrestling, a company that's based in Japan, where shoot style plus strong style plus legitimacy. Your monster heel needs to be someone who is a respected shooter, who's a draw in Japan, and is a big family name. Come on. Vader's the guy. In 1993, exactly. Are you kidding me? The guy who crushed Sting, the guy who crushed Tenryu. But there was one person that he did crush who is not happy about this situation ever. The strongest chin in wrestling history, and the man who could probably arm wrestle God himself, Antonio Inoki, is angry about this deal. And you know what, to be honest, I kind of get where he's coming from. He's decided to sue the UWF. First of all, Antonio Inoki hates competition. So that's the first thing he doesn't dig. So the UWF kind of like chowing into his market share is not something he's happy about. But imagine that not only did New Japan Pro Wrestling create the character of Vader, because before that, Leon White was Big Bull or Baby Bull. New Japan created the Vader character. Antonio Inoki took one of the most controversial squash match losses to the point where Sumo Hall banned wrestling for 5 years because of the riots in Japan that happened when he lost. That's a huge investment that now Antonio Inoki is watching walk out his door to the UWF. So it'll be interesting to see. As far as I remember, this was settled out of court. But, I mean, I kind of get where Inoki's coming from.
Yeah, you can see why he has a gripe with the situation, because he's created this guy basically from the ground up. He's invested in him. Like you said, he took that squash match, and he just up and leaves, takes that character to another company, and Inoki sat there with his hands open can do nothing about it, essentially. So I can see why he's pretty upset.
I find it very funny that he went the litigious route, because, I mean, knowing Inoki, I thought he would have just shown up and said, all right, how about this? The contract's in the middle there. We shoot wrestle for this, and whoever wins gets the contract.
Inoki would do something like that.
That was Inoki, man. He was one of the last like great shooters, man. But on the other side of the pond, guess what, Ricky? There's more lawsuits.
Ugh. Not surprised.
So, okay, do you want to go back to WCW, or do you want to go to the WWF?
Are you trying to tell me there's more than one lawsuit?
Yes, of course. There's 2 more.
Let's stick with WCW, and then we'll go to WWF.
All right. So one of the major reasons that Bill Watts is getting let go is because Bill Watts had a somewhat, how do I put this, a very estranged relationship with political correctness. Now, if you're not politically correct in 2024, I kind of get it. Regulations are a bit stricter. It's, you shouldn't be, but I can understand if you might waver a little bit. If you're politically correct in 1993, I have so many questions for you.
The bar was low. Like,
the
politically correctness was down here back then. It might be up here now, but let me not get into that, but it might be up here now.
No. But that's exactly it. Yeah. Like, whatever your belief might be on that fact, I think we can all agree that political correctness was pretty damn low in 1993.
Agreed.
Which was at such odds with like the kind of person that he was, in the sense of that he had these racist scandals against him, but he was also the guy who is responsible for Junkyard Dog being a household name, and he was booking black champions at a time,
but there was monetary
that no
value
one
in
else
that.
was.
There was monetary value.
I guess
because where was this? Where was he situated? Minnesota.
He was no. He was Tennessee.
No, he can't be. Tennessee.
No, not Tennessee. Well, I mean, it was Mid-South. So Mid-South was like Mississippi. That sort of like.
It might have been somewhere there.
Mississippi,
okay?
yeah.
It might have been.
It was Mississippi, right? Yeah.
And it's obviously there was a black audience then, so he just found a reason to book a black champion. Monetary gain. That's it. It was not. He knew how to then at least put his thoughts aside and then just in order to get money out of it. That was the only reason. Let's not act like he liked Junkyard Dog, because as soon as Junkyard Dog left, there was issues. You know what I'm saying? So
look, I'm gonna respectfully disagree there, just for the sake. I mean, it's just opinions at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'll respectfully disagree by saying that if you listen to the way that the two of them spoke about each other, I think there was a real sincere sense of like love and friendship. There was almost like a father-son relationship there. And I think that, yes, to your point, of course, look, he's not Mother Teresa. He's a wrestling promoter. A wrestling promoter's number one job is to make money.
Yeah.
Now, do I think that there was a very big market for him to push someone like Junkyard Dog? Absolutely.
Yes.
But you have to understand that this was back in the day of the NWA. It's not like now where a wrestling promoter can just say, well, I want to push this guy, and that's it. In order to push somebody, you had to sit through loads of meetings. You had to get conference from the board. And if you went against the conference of the board, you're now dealing with like added tariffs, added taxes. And let's face it, a lot of the promoters in the wrestling game at that point, like honestly, I would say with maybe the exception of like Jim Barnett and Eddie Graham, most of them were racist. Like that's just like the way it was.
Unfortunately.
And I think that it still took a lot of stones for him to kind of push the Junkyard Dog. And I think it just kind of shows how people can be multifaceted, which sucks.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. I think a lot of people who were put in a situation where they were racially discriminated against would probably say, this is not good, but it's the wrestling industry. I got to take it on the chin and just move on. Yeah. But somebody who would not take that nonsense is a young advocate in training, in my opinion, the greatest mind in wrestling history, Mr. Paulie Dangerously, who basically, after years of abuse, decided to sue Bill Watts and WCW for racial discrimination and unsafe working conditions. Now, it never went to court. It was settled out of court. And if you want to know how much he got paid, the money that he got from that settlement was basically what he used to start up a little company over in New York and Philadelphia. So say whatever you want, man, but Paulie always wins.
Look.
So that was one tip. Yeah.
Like you said, I think you actually said this off camera. These guys must have been suing people just to get money because the tax season was coming up. And I think Paul Heyman may have just sued WCW so that he could start a new venture in ECW. And yes, sure, his reasons for suing were probably valid, but he knew what he was doing. This is Paul Heyman we're talking about.
Look, I think that his pain was valid and his discrimination
100%.
was valid. If you listen to, I mean, I think the most heartbreaking interviews you can hear about that time is Teddy Long, like the amount of nonsense that Teddy had to put up with. I mean, I agree with you, but at the same time, listen, dude, a lot of us just get abused and, put through crap with no monetary value.
And they get
if you can get something out of it,
yes.
I get your bag, dude. Come on,
100%. I agree. People shouldn't
just
be able to get away with stuff like that. So I agree.
Well, I'll tell you who did try to sue and was unsuccessful in settling was a wrestler by the name of Nails, who tried to claim in the steroid trial that Vince McMahon had sexually assaulted him. And basically, the WWF and Vince McMahon sued him for defamation of character, which it's so strange to read this now, because back in the day,
yeah,
it seems laughable, but now you go, wait a minute. This is actually a little bit like there's got to be more to the story here, which is just fascinating.
But didn't Nails get fired from the WWF for beating up Vince, or trying to beat up Vince? Trying to attack him. Sorry, yeah.
He choked Vince. Yeah, he choked Vince because he didn't get a payday as big as what was it? It was either as big as the British Bulldog or the Ultimate Warrior.
Sexual harassment, choking. Vince was into some kinky stuff.
You know what? I wish that was still funny, but it isn't. Like, that's the problem. Is like whenever there's anything sexual to do with Vince, you're just like, oh yeah, right. Ugh.
That did happen.
But anyway,
makes you question everything.
It sure did.
Yeah.
So let's get into what is set out to be. Honestly, I think this is my favorite Raw that I've watched so far, from top to bottom. Now,
really,
I mean it, and I'll tell you why. Like because I went in not thinking I was going to enjoy myself so much, and the more I watched it, the more I was like, this is really great.
Okay.
So we start off with our wonderful guest. He's still here, Rob Bartlett.
I like how we're calling him a guest. Like he's not a part of the furniture yet. He's still a guest.
Listen, he's still going through his trial period, and we're going to see whether we've decided to accept him or not. But he is getting better at commentary.
I can't wait. Like, there's going to be a celebration on this podcast the day he leaves.
You know what? You don't know what you got till it's gone. But here's how it starts off. Rob Bartlett standing in front of the crowd at the Manhattan Center, and right behind him are 3 fans with a yellow bed sheet spread out, and in big red letters, Hulk Hogan is back. And that is what this entire episode is dedicated to.
Literally.
Ladies and gentlemen, the return of the Hulkster. And Rob Bartlett says a line which makes me laugh a bit, where he turns around and says, well, there's your proof. I guess wrestling fans can spell. Which I was like,
that was actually good. Yeah, that was actually good.
Well played.
Anytime someone makes a joke about wrestling fans and their intellect, I love it. Because we know some, not including myself, I'll separate myself from that, but some are... Yeah, not on the bright side. Look,
with any fandom, there's going to be a wide spectrum of human beings. You got to expect every single one of them.
But why does wrestling have a large amount of dumb fans?
I mean,
why wrestling specifically?
I would disagree and say that the loudest fans are the dumbest fans. That doesn't necessarily mean most fans.
True.
Like most of us have wrestling opinions, and we just keep it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Then there's other people who decide to go online and air their dirty laundry, but the problem is they seem to get the most attention. That's just the way it is.
This outburst from me comes from just watching a video where someone was complaining about the Bloodline storyline for 20 minutes. So I'm a little bit on edge with wrestling fans right now. But we move. Okay. We move.
All right. Well, hopefully this will relax you a little bit, because after we get a shot of a very way too lingering ring girl segment where she's got a sign that says "I like it raw." The best way I can describe it is she looks like 1993, big curly hair, tight red dress, smiles for the camera, and good old Kevin Dunn follows her way up the ramp for too long. I'm just gonna say it, for too long.
Yeah.
And we get an opening match, a clash of eras, a star of the Attitude Era and a star of the Golden Era. Bam Bam Bigelow taking on Scott Taylor, who would soon become Scotty 2 Hotty.
I had no idea that's who it was.
Yeah, if you take a look at him, that's a young, bright and chipper Scotty 2 Hotty. And I'm going to be honest with you, even though this was a squash match, I really enjoyed this. I was very surprised at how much Bam Bam gave Scott Taylor, and it made the match so much more compelling, because it's the old wrestling adage: if you beat a no one, you're a no one, but if you beat a someone, you're a someone.
Okay.
And I think what was so nice about this was it was a lot. I think Bam Bam, because he's like so strong and so athletic, people don't give him credit for the fact that his psychology was peak. It was really, really good. Like I've got some of the moves here. So Scotty goes for a clothesline and obviously just flies off with like a marble off a wall. And Bam Bam's like, let me show you how to do it, kid. Big clothesline, gets him up, headlock into a side clothesline. And then what I loved is how like Scotty kept kind of getting something and then Bam Bam would shut
him down. Yeah.
Getting something and shut it down. So like Scotty would so Bam Bam's getting him up for a suplex. Scotty manages to slip out of it, and then Bam Bam just brings him down. And it didn't look like a choreographed wrestling spot. It looked like that lump in your throat, like, oh my God, Scotty's free, and now he's dead. Like just the way that Bam Bam took him down and the way that Scotty sold it was like, ooh, this is a fight. Like this looks like this doesn't look like a wrestling match. This looks like Bam Bam came home and Scotty was like stealing stuff from his house and Bam Bam was just like ripping him apart. A really, really good spot that I loved is Scotty tries to go for either a victory roll or a hurricanrana, but he ends up on the electric chair position.
I wrote that down as well.
And Bam Bam Bigelow just drops him.
It was really good.
Just almost through the ring. Like you could feel the ring shudder.
I think
he gets up.
Scott Taylor was able to try and get so much offense in. Like none of it worked, but that idea of him fighting back and then Bam Bam just shutting it down completely helped this match a lot because it allowed Bam Bam to get all his stuff in as well. Like he landed this electric chair drops. He landed, as we'll get to later, the diving headbutt. He landed some sort of like underhook backbreaker. I don't know what. He really got his stuff in this match, which highlighted him and made a simple squash match a little bit more interesting.
No, he was, and I think that's exactly it. It's like, you know, I have been on both ends of a squash match. Like when you're first getting like into the industry, the booker will put you in for like a squash match to be like, oh, look, he's dominant. But then you've also like, it's also the art of knowing like when you have to make someone look good. The only way that like it looks plausible is if you outsmart someone, outmuscle someone, and outstrategize somebody.
Yeah. And
that was something that I liked about Bam Bam is that he, in this match, he wasn't just a big brute throwing someone around. It was the idea of, okay, you're going to go for a hurricanrana. Well, guess what, kiddo? You're on the top here. Boom.
Yeah.
He slips out of a suplex. He's like, okay, you're pretty smart, but I'm stronger than you. So boom, here's reality. And then like what I really liked is that there was also like some storytelling here in that he was almost like, you could tell he was mad that this little kid had gotten like something on him. So it wasn't enough for him to give him a headbutt. And he got from the, I think the best way, let me see, it was the northeast turnbuckle. He flew like a good couple of meters from that turnbuckle to smack Scotty Taylor. So that by the time he went to the southwest turnbuckle, which was a little bit closer, it was a display of, the first dive was a display of his athleticism. The second was the display of his power. And to add insult to injury, he lands the second diving headbutt, stands up, and then just does a drop down stationary headbutt, like as a final, like, F you, buddy. Like, we're done here. 1, 2, 3. And I got to tell you, that's how you do a squash match.
Yeah.
It was compelling stuff.
Can I be honest here for a moment?
Shoot.
The diving headbutt, I've never been a fan of it.
Oh, no, me neither.
Never. Not because of the safety aspect of it, because that's one thing. Okay, a lot of moves are unsafe that we like. So it's not even the safety aspect. I've never liked it because for me, if you're a casual and you're just watching this, you're going to think he just missed a splash. You get what I'm saying? It looks like a missed splash a lot of the time. And if the commentators don't specifically say diving headbutts or something to do with the headbutts, they're like, what happened? That's how I feel about the diving.
I think it's one of those moves in wrestling that's, Harley Race was the innovator of it. After that Dynamite Kid, even though it sucks to talk about now, Chris Benoit, Bryan Danielson, like it's just one of those moves that's kind of synonymous with the hard-nosed, laissez-faire brawler who's like throwing everything of themselves into this match. It also sells it's a storytelling technique, because if you think about like Chris Benoit, Harley Race, Bryan Danielson, Bam Bam Bigelow, what they all have in common is they give off this idea of, oh damn, they're just gonna like throw themselves at it, caution to the wind. There is absolutely no regard for safety. So I agree with you, but I think that it's more of a storytelling technique than it is like an offensive move. That's my mindset.
But then you finish a match with it, like Bam Bam in this case. So yeah, I have my gripe with that specific move, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's because Bam Bam was like, all right, and then after that I do a Shining Wizard or like a what's it?
Should have ended with a 450 splash. Like, come on.
Scotty was like, actually, could you maybe just do the headbutt?
Agreed.
Cool. But then we move on to the NWO Hollywood Hogan about 4 years before it would actually come to be. No, tell me I'm wrong. Because we get the first appearance of Hulk Hogan on Monday Night Raw, and spoiler alert, it's going to be one of his only appearances for a very long time. And it's very interesting. The reason why I say Hollywood Hogan before, like 4 years before it even happens, is because this is a very different Hulk Hogan to the one we're used to. Gone is the yellow and red. Gone is the bulging muscles. Instead, we are seeing a Hulk Hogan.
But that comes back. That comes back. Like 20 minutes time, we get all that. Just putting it out there.
Yeah,
like, yes, this is like a little indication as to what we could have. Or will have.
And it's very interesting. Exactly. But it's very interesting. It's a black bandana, an IcoPro black and white shirt. And you take a look at this and you think like, wait a minute. Like he's wanted to do this look for a while. Like this, it's just a beautiful bit of foreshadowing. Now the situation is very interesting because Hulk Hogan, the best way that we can put it now is that Hulk Hogan had his reputation somewhat sullied since the steroid trial.
Yes.
He had done a disastrous interview on the Arsenio Hall show, and he had been away from WWF since WrestleMania 8. He filmed some movies, which I think got him into the public eye, but I mean, none of them were like that critical box office, straight to the moon kind of deal. Like he was successful. I'm not going to say he wasn't successful. He did good, but you know, Hulk Hogan wasn't this wasn't a returning star. This was more of the best way that I could describe it. I put this down in my notes. This gave off YouTube apology video vibes.
Wait,
you know what I mean? Like,
wait, you're not gonna believe. Wait, you're not gonna believe me. I wrote here.
Yeah.
This feels like a YouTube apology video.
There we go. Great minds.
How the hell did we write the same thing? Because that's like very niche. That's not like. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was look, and I mean like a standard one. Like no one whipped out a ukulele or anything like that. It was just like a standard to the camera sort of apology video.
Yeah.
But what was interesting about this is so to paint it for the viewer who maybe hasn't watched this, Hulk Hogan sitting across from Vince McMahon in like a very minimalist set, something that you'd see on like a daytime talk show, but like not like a big daytime talk show. Like one of those ones where, I mean, you're way too young to remember this, but there was an interview where Lance Armstrong had to admit to Oprah that he had been caught using performance-enhancing drugs to win the Tour de France. It's that kind of like solemn, somber, solemn, somber sort of coming clean interview.
Yes.
What breaks it, however, is that between Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan is a giant picture of Hulk Hogan. I think it was around WrestleMania 3 when he is just the size of a house, oiled to the gills,
properly juiced up. Yeah,
like flexing in the middle, and it's just it's such a juxtaposition because what happens is that it's a close-up shot of Hogan, then it's a close-up shot of Vince. And then they do a wide shot, and then they reveal the picture. And I just kind of snorted when that happened. I was like, "Okay, it's pretty jarring."
Yeah.
But the interview is very interesting because it's a very subdued interview of and you never hear Hulk Hogan speaking like this, which is very interesting. He was very calm. It was Terry Bollea speaking.
Yeah.
And it was very calm. And you know what? There was a part of the promo that I really enjoyed, in which he spoke about what is the future of Hulkamania. To which he said, "The Hulkamaniacs are no longer just my fans; they're my friends, they're my family, and they're going to be the ones who direct me into what I do next." And I remember being a bit taken back by that. I just thought, like,
it's some good stuff.
Like that's
some
actually
compelling
nice
stuff for a change, rather than just take your vitamins and say your prayers and do all that stuff. He was actually coming up with some substance for a change.
But here was the problem. This was supposed to be an apology video. And he did say sorry. And he did say that he's made mistakes. And he did say he's not perfect. But he didn't say what he was sorry about.
At no point did he tell us what he did. So if you had no idea about... Okay, it's probably impossible at that time to not have heard about the steroid scandal. But if you had no idea, you'd be sitting here like, what did you do? You know
what did you do? Yeah. It was very, and that's the reason why I said that it was like a YouTube apology video, because it kind of gave off that vibe of like, hey guys, things have just been so crazy lately, and I just want to take accountability of what I've done.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have been done. And it's like, but you're not saying what you did. Yeah. And I think that, look, Hulk Hogan is a guy that I'm always going to go back and forth on. I mean, a little peek, but and I want to get this out the way now, just because there's a lot of Hogan on this show. And what I'd say is that I became a wrestling fan in 2002. My first exposure to Hulk Hogan was when he came back from WCW to challenge The Rock. I had no idea what WCW was. I had no idea what the NWO was. But I was like, wow, that Scott Hall and that Kevin Nash guy is really cool. I'm going to find out everything I know about them. Hulk, I was like, he's interesting. But the reason why I started to fall in love with them, 2 letters, JR, Jim Ross. Jim Ross basically put over to new fans how important and how necessary Hulk Hogan was to the wrestling industry. And then, controversial opinion, his 2003 run is amazing. Like the Mr. America nonsense, the title shot that he got when he was way too old. Then after that, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, Muhammad Hassan, Eugene, like, it's ridiculous. But I loved it. And like, there was something, there was something very charming about this, like, over the top 1980s, and like no one looked like him. And then what happens is, like, as a young fan, you start to like watch the old WrestleManias, you start to read the history books, and I was like, damn, man, this Hulk Hogan guy's, he's important. But I was like, I actually started really liking him. I was like, oh, this guy's like really cool. But then the second phase of your time as a wrestling fan is being on the internet. And when that happens, like, so I stopped watching wrestling, I think 2000.
Disappointing.
I think like early 2006. I think the 2 things for me was like when Eddie died, when Brock left, and like I loved CM Punk, but they never put him on TV, so I kind of just gave up. And I came back in 2016, 2017. And that's when the Hogan scandal broke. And that's when I started like hearing about, unfortunately, the kind of guy that he is behind the scenes. And look, I am a firm believer of separating the art from the artist. The wrestling's very small. I mean, Hogan's a guy that I would love to like have a beer with and like chat about the business and that. He must have a million stories.
Probably.
But I remember
all lies, but yes.
You said that. I didn't say that. But I was very disappointed to like kind of find that out about him. And now we're in like
never
a weird...
meet your heroes, and this is like finding out everything about your hero, and you're like, he's not really a good guy, is he?
Look, the thing is, Hulk Hogan, he's very much one of those guys that he is controversial, but he's important. And I think that's the best,
the
best way that we put it.
Agreed.
I do have some comments for later on in the night, which I can't wait for. Yeah. But let's continue where we get onto our. So basically, Hulk Hogan ends off with everyone knows the Hulk Hogan demandments, which is take your vitamins, say your prayers, but he decides to add one more: believe in Hulk Hogan.
I believe that he's going to ruin the next WrestleMania.
Oh my god,
that's what I believe.
You're so salty. Okay, so now we get on to the next match, and this was a match that I did not think I was going to enjoy as much as I was, but it slapped. Did you not enjoy it? I love this.
Anything with Tatanka in, I do not enjoy. Oh, I despise that man. I despise everything he does in the ring. His unbeaten streak was a waste of time. Well, that
wasn't his fault though. Yeah,
that was the first I really liked it. Yeah.
So for everyone at the back, we have quite a strange 6-man tag, which seems thrown together, but there is actually a storyline.
There's a story. Stories, yeah.
So Tatanka is one of the few people on the roster who's beaten Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, who is currently the IC champion. And Tatanka keeps trying to get Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels, because he's playing the cowardly heel, he keeps getting away. And now we've got a 6-man tag between Tatanka and the Nasty Boys. That's how you know Hogan's on the show, because his boys are there. I'm surprised that Jim Duggan... Oh, God, they were very close.
This is new to me.
Oh, yeah. No, Brian Knobs and...
They don't seem like they would be close. Looking at their physical appearances.
No, they were like bosom buddies. But the Nasty Boys are back with teaming with Tatanka, and on the other side, which when I first saw them together, I thought that's a bit random. But the more I think about it, I thought actually, that does make sense. Shawn Michaels and the Beverly Brothers.
I just want to say something. As much as I said I didn't enjoy this match, it's more of a Tatanka issue. I like the Beverly Brothers, actually. I think they're a good heel tag team. I like Shawn Michaels, obviously. The Nasty Boys are the Nasty Boys. They get a little bit of appreciation, but sometimes I'm just like, what am I watching?
You're just on the Tatanka hate train. Yeah. I understand that.
He ruined this match.
What I wrote here was that the mullets on display in this match are exquisite. And as someone who's grown out a little tail there, I respected what was happening there. Another thing that I said is there are a couple of guys every time they make an entrance during this time. I just think you're the best. Shawn Michaels, Razor. Every time they enter, I'm just like, that's my boy.
I agree.
I love these guys. So as soon as the Nasty Boys and Tatanka enter, they don't wait for a bell. There's no lockup. Nope. They just run at each other and they just start throwing haymakers. And honestly, it's like a rough and ready match, but there's so much cool stuff happening here. One of the first bumps that I absolutely loved was Shawn Michaels getting tossed over the rope. And he lands like a crumpled up soda can with his leg on the barrier, his neck to the side. He was exquisite.
It was really
good.
Was just Rob Bartlett was unbelievable. Because Rob Bartlett said that was the coolest movie he'd ever seen, but in the most monotone voice he could pull off.
That was the coolest move I've ever seen.
Literally exactly that. I'm like, guy, get a bit of excitement.
It's not good for the content because I need to be paying attention to everything, but I am astounded at how much I've tuned out Rob Bartlett. I don't hear him anymore.
That's a good thing, I guess.
Now, I took what happened next incredibly personally, because the father of NXT's greatest superstar come Tuesday, Bo Beverly, was getting ready, was taking a lot of stiff shots from the Nasty Boys. Now, Rob Bartlett did say the one and only line of his that really made me laugh during this, where he says, "The Nasty Boys would like me to read the statement that says that they are not fact nasty boys. They're kind, sensitive, help various charities, and are a lover of the arts." And I did scoff at that.
That was good stuff. I was like, I agree.
That's pretty cute.
He can be funny sometimes. When he's not insulting the product, he can be funny.
I honestly think that if he had just like sat down with Bobby Heenan or Gorilla Monsoon for like a weekend and kind of given him the do's and don'ts, he could have had something.
Agreed.
But it was just, unfortunately, they brought on this edgy comedian and just thought, let's see what happens.
I'll never forget his one line with, I think it might have been on the first episode, with Max Moon and Shawn Michaels, and then when they came back from the break, he's like, "And you'll never guess what happened during the break. Max Moon pulled out a knife and checked Shawn Michaels right now." I was like, oh, that's one thing that sticks in my head. No, enough love really for Rob Bartlett. That's enough.
Yeah, well, hey, it's not like we've been leaping it on at any time. So this was a very dynamic match. Like what I loved is like, once again, very similar to the Bam Bam match, where the big thing, like the big golden thread of this whole story, is Tatanka is trying to get in at the same time that Shawn Michaels is in. And they just keep trying to, like, Shawn just keeps avoiding Tatanka. Yeah. So Shawn tries to duck, Shawn tries to duck the Nasty Boys. And I think it's Brian Knobbs just takes him by the hair and shoves him to the ground. Like, no finesse, just like a hard hit. Because, I mean, this is going to be the story. It's going to be the technical, fast-moving, pretty boy heels versus these brutes.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And I think what was so nice is like the exchange of arm ringers between them. So like, Bo Beverly would go for an arm ringer, Tatanka would reverse it into an arm ringer, and like it was just like it was like very smooth, which is nuts because like I don't like the Nasty Boys, and I was like really surprised. Like, yeah,
what did you like about it?
I just never got it.
You just never got it.
I just never got it, you know. It's like it's the whole Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle side villain vibe, you know. It's like, yeah, I get it.
I see it now.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see it now.
Do you know what I think it is? Is that like, I think being an indie wrestler in South Africa, I have wrestled so many people who look like the Nasty Boys that maybe I've just got PTSD.
That's the standard look, though. That's not a gimmick, though.
Oh no! They get off their job at like the plumbing, like the plumbing shop, and then they come through to the match, you know, after drinking a bottle of brandy in the locker room. But I need to give Brian Knobbs his flowers because he was flipping good in this match. There was this amazing move that I liked, which was like the pile driver, but into his knee, which looked like something from All Japan. I was very impressed. It was like like a shoulder breaker, but like an inverted one in a pile driver setting. But it was snug the way he did it. Which, like, if somebody told me that someone in this match did that move, my money would not be on Brian Knobbs. With all due respect, Mr. Knobbs, like it was like, wow, that's really good.
Speaking of the Nasty Boys, I need you to explain something to me real quick. What is the pit stomp, and why does Vince love it so much?
Because it's got to do with bodily functions, like anything to do with like, there's something about the boomers, man. I don't know what it is. Like my dad's the same. My dad is a sophisticated, intelligent human being, but anything to do with that sort of realm of humor cracks him up. And I mean, it's just, there was something very weird about the 80s where there was like people getting their heads shoved into armpits. The bushwhackers used to lick people. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, man. Like, you know, the 80s was a fun time.
Every time Vince like laughs at something like that or brings up something like that, I can't help but think it's a fetish of his, like a kink.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Like he's probably thinking like that's good shit. Like I should try that later. That's what I keep thinking about Vince now, and it's sad. It's real sad.
I know.
It's real sad.
I know. I'm just trying to like get it out of my head.
Imagine Vince goes home and he says, "Linda, pit stomp me."
Oh, Linda. Oh, come on, Ricky. They don't live together, please.
Brilliant.
You're living in a daydream. But I think what was very interesting here was, now we all know that this is a very special episode and Hulk Hogan's here, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because Macho Man was in hard sell mode here. He was the one who kept mentioning, like, hey, don't go anywhere. Like, this is a really special episode. The Hulkster is going to be here. The Hulkster. And it was just so strange coming out of Macho Man's mouth.
I was thinking Vince probably told him, I'm sure Vince was like, you're going to push this tonight. And I'm thinking Macho Man was sat there like, me? I absolutely hate this man. They're going to make me do this all night. But they had a love-hate relationship. Like, they hated each other, but they secretly loved each other.
I think there was like a definite professional respect and personal disrespect. Like, it's the best way I can think of it, because say whatever you want about the two of them. No one got a better match out of Hogan than Macho Man.
Oh,
not Andre, not Warrior, not even the guys in Japan. Like, and it's because Macho Man, probably one of the greatest technical wrestlers who ever lived. He's like, he does not get enough. Like, and I'm telling you right now, he was the top guy in WWE at many times, and rightly so. But if that guy had been in a time where technical proficiency as well as character work was lauded over just character work, you would have never heard of Hulk Hogan. Like, Macho Man, in my opinion, Macho Man was always my guy. Like that.
Is this a weird thing? I was also a Macho Man guy from the start. Is this a weird thing? I've always looked at Seth Rollins and thought Macho Man. Is that weird?
I think you're onto something there. I would say, for me, I always think of CM Punk as Macho Man. Like, that's kind of the vibe I get.
Macho Man did too much drugs to be CM Punk.
Yeah, but you've got that Punk derangement syndrome. I forgot.
No, I like Punk.
Okay. You changed your tune. I like.
I've always liked he can be a dickhead, but I like him.
Yeah. I feel like liking CM Punk these days is kind of like the new political debate, where it's like I remember I was hanging with you guys at Stomp, and it was like in half people who liked Punk or people who didn't. Like when the Brawl Out stuff broke, it was so funny when like I was chilling with you guys, and I was going like, can you believe this happened? And I think it was Cicelo. Cicelo was like, yeah. I mean, that damn Punk not being grateful for like everything AEW did for him. I was like, whoa, we are on different sides.
I think that time, everything just, it seemed like it was Punk that did everything wrong. But time has proven that the young Bucks are the Young Bucks. Jim Cornette was right. That's all I'm going to say.
Looks like, you see, I told you. But look, I think at the end of the day, with that whole situation, no one was right.
No,
if you're professionals, you don't.
The only one that was right was Kenny Omega, because Kenny Omega cannot be wrong.
Because he was trying to save the dog.
He cannot
which
be
is
wrong.
Like that's why everyone.
He's Kenny Omega.
That's why everyone loves Kenny.
Exactly.
But let's get back to 1993. Now, Tatanka, oh my God, he was throwing out the chops.
This is what I said in my notes. Tatanka proceeds to stink out the place. That was my first.
Oh, come on, man. You are so salty.
Then I said,
we're never going to get him as a guest now.
This guy, then I said, these tomahawk chops have to go. That's all this guy can do. Because that is all he does, is these chops and these other chops and some more chops and some more chops. That's all Tatanka can do. And then he's dance and then some more chops.
Those chops looked so flippin' stiff. Like they were intense. Now, like what was like really nice is that there was a lot of double team moves, but not in the usual sense of, okay, you're against the turnbuckle. If you're playing 2K, press circle, double team move. No, this was like proper ingenious cutting off the ring, brainbuster sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Where Michaels distracted the ref, and then Knobs was on the ropes. And the Beverly Brothers did this. It was a bit goofy looking, but it worked so well for their character. Where Bo Beverly had Brian Knobs in like a wheelbarrow leaning against the ropes, and then the other Beverly brother leapfrogged over him and did a splash onto like the back of Brian Knobs. And it's like, it looked goofy, but I thought not only is that an effective move, but it was so good for in-ring psychology, because it's like, oh, they're not the legal men. This is like completely illegal.
Yeah.
I loved it, man. Like the Beverly Brothers, they're one of those teams I never ever give them any thought. But the more I watch Raw, the more I think, oh, you guys are really good.
They actually are good. They actually are really good. I remember a match between them and, was it the Steiners? It might not have been the Steiners.
Yeah, at the Royal Rumble, yeah.
Was it
at the Royal Rumble? Yeah.
Yes.
With the Steiner brothers. Yeah.
And just the heel work was really, really good. Like, I remember them complaining to the ref that the Steiners were grabbing their hair, even though they were nowhere near their hair, and just little things like that. And I'm like, that's proper heel work. You don't get that anymore unless you're MJF.
But the thing that I love about them is that the Beverly Brothers were so good at basically taking a look at who they were against and saying, okay, we'll fill in the gaps here. Yeah, Nasty Boys. Okay, we're not going to be the big brutes here. We're going to be the technical guys. And that's what they were. And it was like, and the thing that I noticed about this match, the crowd could not stop chanting for the Nasty Boys.
That is true. They were super over, which was surprising.
They were super over, which, like, I would be like the biggest dork in 1993 because I would just be sitting there like, come on, Michaels, you can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Michaels gets thrown into the turnbuckle, and Hobbs comes at him. Michaels does the jump over, back in, clothesline, double down. And they start to do the classic like hot tag thing where they're crawling and crawling and crawling. Tatanka's in. Place erupts because they think, oh my God, Tatanka and HBK are finally in the ring at the same time. But then HBK tries to tag.
Yeah.
Tags out, and poor Bo Beverly gets chopped into absolute oblivion. Like, holy crap. I hope that he got like a nice fruit basket or something from Tatanka, because I'm telling you, if I was in a match with Tatanka, you get the first chop, you get the second chop, the third chop, I'm going to have some words that we're going to go to a corner.
It's going to get
like,
enough.
What are you?
Agreed.
When I had a match with Steez before I left, I told him, you get one chop, you get a single chop. And my God, did he make it worth it. but so then Tatanka goes into his comeback routine. It's a big chop. And these things sound so hard. Like, they are so hardcore. He gets into his Tatanka dance. He goes in for another big drop, but Shawn Michaels comes in. Teardrop suplex. But he's rolled up.
1, 2, 3.
I loved it, man. And Shawn is throwing an absolute shit fit. He is so angry because Tatanka's got another one on him. And what was very nice about this, Tatanka didn't beat Shawn Michaels like Tatanka. He beat Shawn Michaels like Shawn Michaels.
I hear that.
Little taste of his own medicine, nice and sneaky. And I know that you've got Tatanka derangement syndrome, but hey, man, this was a banger of a match. I really enjoyed it.
It was alright. I felt it was repetitive at times. It went on a bit long.
It was a house show match. That's the best. Yeah. It was a nice, like, you imagine, like,
when at a house show, like that's the problem.
I get it, but I mean, sometimes you need that house show energy, especially since there isn't like that long flowing narrative when it comes to Raw at the moment. I mean, this was a proper, like, we clock off work. You know, you're not watching this wrestling show for your job. You're doing it because you just want to watch some wrestling. Yeah. We're like 2 beers in. You know, Cicelo's already lost his voice from screaming too much. Like, that's the kind of like wrestling show that we're at here. That was, like, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on swiftly. Get away from Tatanka. We then cut to a brief segment with Sean Mooney standing outside with some fans. This is nothing important. He was just asking about Hogan, but how much did they pay these fans?
No, I don't think they
to absolutely love Hogan the way they love Hogan.
You know what, man? I don't think they were. Like, honestly, like, remember, most of the people who don't like Hogan were like the dorks like you and me who are in the basement, like, oh, I think you'll find that his New Japan run was better. Like, you know, but like people on the street who are just like watching wrestling, especially in New York, man, they loved Hogan.
I
So we
suppose
had like
New York, Madison Square Garden. That guy was there every week for 10 years.
Hogan's
20
turf,
years.
baby. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So we had two very New York fans. The one was saying, "He's back, man! He's back! I love Hogan." And the second guy, "He's going to come in and he's going to clean house." Now, I'm not going to say what I originally wrote down in my notes here.
Please say it. I'll cut it out if I need to. I'll cut it out.
I'm just going to say that Hogan would have loved one of these fans. That's all I'm going to say. And I think you can put together what I mean there.
I can't figure it out.
Out of the two fans, he would have liked one of them. That's all I'm going to say about this.
I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, when you do, you're going to send me a DM and be like, oh. But like my original note, I was just like, I can't say that, like even as a joke. But
we then
after that, we had
Crush and Terry Taylor, a match that we didn't need.
Oh, don't you dare miss out on the Rizzotti sisters coming through, showing the ring title card.
Yeah, go at it.
Let me hear the Rizzotti sisters were lifetime fans of WWE.
Yeah.
And the best way we could describe them is that they were voluptuous ladies of a more homely description. And, so back in 1993, comedy was taking people who were maybe more normal looking and putting them in situations where people who would be more aesthetically gifted would be in those positions. It's like if Meghan Markle or let's say Margot Robbie came out as a ring girl, no one's batting an eye. Ricky and I came out in bikinis. I don't know. Like it's like kind of funny.
Did you see the Jake Paul Mike Tyson match this weekend by any chance? Okay.
I mean, it's very funny that you're calling it a match, but sure. Like, okay, sure. I saw.
Did you see the ring girl that was standing in between them when they were facing off? Like, she's what you would expect out of that whole situation. A lot of assets. That's like, imagine you take her out of the picture and you put Susan Boyle there. Just imagine that now.
Hey, Susan Boyle was America's Songbird, like I.
I'm just saying that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, like there's a time and place. I understand. Like, shame. I think that ring card lady for the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, I think she's the only one whose like career was like positively affected by that fight.
I think so too.
Everyone else is a bit tarnished. But yes, so our next match is Crush versus Terrific Terry Taylor. Right after the entrances, and Crush is coming in. It's a proper babyface entrance. He's slapping hands. He's like, and I'm gonna say something controversial here. I kind of see what Vince is seeing with Crush in this match. I know. Why you are not liking me today, hey? I don't know. I kind of saw it. He's a big guy. The fans like him.
Let me read you.
Okay, let's hear it.
Firstly, I said, are they trying to push Crush as their new answer to Ultimate Warrior? So I was questioning that. And then secondly, I wrote, wait, where is the specific note that I wrote here? I had it. Oh, I said Crush isn't even that big. Why are they trying to make him out as this big guy? And then I just said, he has a belly. I don't know what I was clearly writing this very late at night. I was watching this far too late. I was just like, this guy's he just has a belly. He's got nothing about him. Like, why should I be excited about it? Yeah.
This is what I love about this show is that I feel like whoever is watching these episodes of Raw for the first time, and I think I've seen like the demographics of your consumer base. Like a lot of them are kind of your age, like more Gen Z, more younger people. So for a lot of them, it's like this is the first time they're seeing any of this. And what I love about them is that they are getting the full spectrum of wrestling fandom, where I am like the positive, supportive parent, and you are just like the stepdad smoking in the car, like this goddamn.
No, but like honestly, he doesn't look special. That orange outfit does not go well with his skin tone. I don't know. He either wears that orange or the green one. He's got a belly, but he's wearing this like spandex thing. Like, pick a different outfit, do something, go to the gym. If you're gonna be this big guy, and what I'm thinking is Vince's answer to the Ultimate Warrior, which, yeah, it doesn't make sense either. At least try to look like him, as in his body, which is a big ask, but his belly gets in the way of everything. That's all I kept seeing.
Do you know what the
And
problem is?
It's not like an Arn Anderson belly, which was like, he's a big guy, you know. It's like he's just got this like beer belly, just there. It's like he's 3 months pregnant.
I think that like one of the best things about wrestling, and it's something that's kind of coming back now with like, I don't want to name and shame people because I feel
Adam
like
Cole.
Look, I love Adam Cole though.
I knew
like,
was that who you were gonna say?
No, not at all. Not at all. Like, Shem, I think Adam Cole's been getting like, but I'll put it to you this way. One of my favorite wrestlers at the moment is Eddie Kingston. I love him. Like, yeah, I know that you have your reservations about him. But what I love about Eddie Kingston is that Eddie Kingston is a strong, powerful, fit, capable athlete. But he also looks like a human being. I think what has been lost.
I've seen that man breathing like crazy after 30 seconds. But yes.
I mean, fair enough. But the thing is, you don't get New Japan titles without having a level of proficiency.
Fair enough.
Like that is always going to be his like claim to fame, is the fact that he's not just a American pro wrestler. If you can make it in Japan, if you can hold titles in Japan, take it from someone who's doing it right now. Yeah. I hate my life. Like it's the worst. It's a dream, but I hate my life. And like it's what I love, what has kind of been lost a lot in wrestling is that the aesthetic part of wrestling. I think that something in the 90s kind of happened where we all expect wrestlers to be like chiseled out of marble and look like Abercrombie and Finch models. But like back in the 80s, back in the 90s, if you were a strong dude, you were a strong dude, you know? Like it's just the way it was.
I don't need him to be chiseled, okay? But if you're gonna be a big guy, if you're not gonna be a Big Show big guy or a Mark Henry big guy, where yes, you got a bit of weight on you, and instead you're gonna be a big guy like a Kevin Nash big guy, look like a Kevin Nash big guy. Don't look like a Mark Henry big guy, but I'm losing myself here, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, look how you should look, at least. Eddie Kingston, his weight is not my problem. The way he looks is not my problem with him at all. Like, I think you should have different body styles because it just makes things interesting and different. But wrestle for your body style as well. That's my issue with Eddie Kingston.
But I think that like with Crush, they're not quite sure what they're doing with him yet. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because I'm not gonna lie. I went in here with very, very low expectations, and I found myself being won over by Crush. I was really liking what he was doing. And you know what? Props. And you want to know, half of it is because Terry Taylor's a great worker, and Terry
except
gave
for when he
him
chopped
a lot
Crush right in the face. Did you see that?
I mean, I think that was a receipt. I think that was a receipt.
It was from the very beginning, though. Like early on.
That was like a slow down.
Yeah.
That was like a slow down, pal. Something went wrong there. But there was a side headlock. And what I loved about that is there was a side headlock. Terry Taylor immediately slips out of it and kind of starts like throwing punches against the rope. So it looked a bit like a boxing match. But then after that, Crush got straight into the offense. Big gorilla press, like nice and impressive. Crowds going crazy. And I think that's when I kind of looked at him and thought, that's cool. You know, you could actually be something.
I've seen so many guys do it, though, that look better, that catch my attention more, that
but in 1993,
horrible orange-looking outfits. I can't remember if he was wearing it for this specific Raw. But
you gotta stop getting...
It's like peach. It's like skin color. It's like he took the same material that Giant Gonzalez had and just made his outfit out of that. It's terrible.
Okay, you are just being a grump right now.
I even wrote on my notes here. Rob Bartlett did an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression, and it's much better than watching Crush.
God. You are ridiculous. Well, I was gonna say what I was going to say, what I was very, very impressed by was Terry Taylor. He was doing like some really good trash talking while he was doing the headline. He's like, "Come on, man, come on," which I always forget that Terry Taylor can act like a pretty good heel because he's usually like the clean cut sort of chipper baby face. Yeah. And it was also kind of nice that like showed that Crush could do could play like the face in peril even as such a big guy.
Sure.
And he got up and he managed to do like a really good like tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Like I was very impressed by Crush in this match. I'm not gonna lie. Like I liked him in this.
It's making me angry. Oh.
Okay. Well then I'll stop. Okay. Well then I will stop on this train. Let's say that Crush gets the 3 count.
No, he doesn't get a 3 count. He does the Great Khali head crush thing.
Oh yes, the Kona Crush. Yes.
That
Kona
Vince
Crush,
calls a submission hold. Don't think you can call that a submission hold.
Which you see, here are the problems that I feel like Crush faced early on in his career, where I think that, and I mean, look, this is Monday Night Quarterback. Everyone knows how to book something once it's happened, but a couple of things that I think would have made Crush better. I agree with you. Changing the look would have helped out.
Yeah,
better finisher. He's this big, strong guy. Don't do a submission hold. A submission hold is for like technical guys or like guys who you can kind of like imagine that, okay, this is smaller guys a lot of the time. No one's questioning Brian Danielson's label lock. No one's questioning Zack Sabre Jr. because they're technically gifted smaller guys. Kona Crush, you got a guy who can throw someone into the stratosphere. Give him a power bomb or something. It's something big like that. And then again, I love Matt Bourne. Doink is such an underrated character. But the minute that I heard that he was going to face Doink at WrestleMania, my first thought was, oh, yeah, it's that match because it's a comedy match. It's not a serious match. And that was like, damn it. We can't take this guy seriously now.
I'm just glad he eventually goes off to WCW. That's all I'm saying.
He does. And look, and controversial opinion, I like Chronic. I thought Chronic was a cool team. I'm probably alone in that. But I really liked Chronic.
Who was Chronic? It was him and?
It was Kona Crush, Brian Clark, and Brian Adams, who was Adam Bomb.
Adam Bomb, yeah, I thought so. Who we'll get to soon enough. Also terrible.
He's coming. He's coming. But now, basically, before we move on to the next and final segment,
yes,
there were a couple of comments in this match, which, given the current political landscape, and that's all I'm going to say, I found to be very, very interesting. So the first comment was, apparently President Clinton is considering Hogan for the cabinet to be like a somewhat minister of sports.
Yep. I heard
that sounds far-fetched, right, Ricky? That sounds far-fetched, right?
Crazy. It can't be real. That's like Elon now joining the government. But anyway, carry on.
But that's the thing, is like you heard that, and back then it was laughable. But now Hogan was at 2 Republican committees and conventions. He's very closely associated with Trump now. I mean, would it be the craziest thing in the world? I don't think so.
Were the Clintons Republican or Democratic?
That was the next step. Is after that, what's it? Rob Bartlett asked, well, does that mean Hogan's a Democrat or a Republican? And then Vince is like, he's a Hulkamaniac. I'm like, no, Republican. He's like, there's, because I think with a lot of wrestlers, you can kind of like, most of the time, look, there's a couple of wrestlers we know exactly where they stand. Jesse Ventura, Democrat. CM Punk, Democrat. Hulk Hogan, Republican. Undertaker, Republican. But it just then
you get like someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin and you're like, Republican? Wait, he's actually a Democrat. Yeah. I was like, when did that happen?
I just found that to be so funny, where it was like, man, in a couple of years' time, this is going to be a very funny thing to revisit. Like in 31 years' time.
Sure.
This is going to be very interesting.
Okay. So before we get on to Hulk Hogan, because that's our next step, right? Hulk Hogan.
You bet, brother.
Okay, before we get into that, I got a little bit of a game for you. Okay.
All right.
You've seen these around on Twitter, on Facebook, on every sort of social media. It's the whole idea of you have 4 wrestlers, you got to get rid of one and erase everything they did from history.
Okay.
You get the concept. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory.
I do.
I've got a mixture
All right,
of like modern day and then like old school. So let's start with one
puppy.
that's like Ruthless Aggression Attitude Era. We got Batista, Undertaker, Triple H, and Bill Goldberg. Who out of those 4 are you getting rid of? And remember,
oh my God,
everything goes with them.
Wow. That is okay. I think we're gonna have to do process of elimination. Yeah, that's the only way that I see this going.
Sure.
Okay. So it was Triple H, Undertaker,
Correct. Batista,
Goldberg, and Batista.
Yes.
Okay. First and foremost, Triple H is not going anywhere. He has to stay. Like he is. Not only is he one of my personal favorites, like just everything he's done for the wrestling landscape,
and he's booking the damn show now. So,
and he's great at it. So okay, no, Triple H, he's not moving anywhere.
Sure.
Okay.
Undertaker can't go anywhere. Surely.
Yeah.
Why are you thinking about this? The streak alone.
Yeah, you know what? Do you know what I'm doing? I'm not separating the man from the, because I think that I don't like his politics, but no, he's
don't be that guy. Don't be that guy, Michael. Don't be that guy.
You know what? I'm gonna keep Undertaker for 2 reasons. The match he had with CM Punk was unbelievable, and the second, he brought Limp Bizkit to WWE, and I will always appreciate that.
Forget about Taker versus HBK. Forget about Kane. Forget about Rivera. Yeah, none of that. Okay. So Batista and Goldberg.
Bye. This one's tough because I started watching in 2002. I have such personal connections between Goldberg and Batista. Batista was one of like when he first debuted in Evolution, I immediately was like, this guy's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Like I just could see it. This guy's going to be
Batista's one of my guys from like my childhood. So he's not going anywhere.
And he's a great actor. Batista's an amazing actor.
Yeah, so you get rid of his movies as well.
Oh God, I love Blade Runner. I can't do that. You know what? This is gonna suck. This is really, really, really gonna suck. But I literally have a Goldberg shirt. I love Goldberg. And I love WCW.
You can't do it.
I have to. It's got to be Batista, dude. I'm so sorry. And I love Batista so much. I love
that
Batista.
theme song.
But yeah.
How are you going to get rid of that whole thing?
Controversial opinion. If you were asking me my personal opinion versus like what is good for the wrestling like modicum, I would have said Undertaker.
Well, it's a bit of both that I'm asking for. But I think his wrestling moniker outweighs anything personal.
That's exactly it. You can't. Yeah. So I love Batista to pieces, but you know what? I don't feel bad getting rid of Batista, and I'll tell you why. Because if he had never gone to wrestling, he would have just gone straight to acting, and we would have had 20 more years of really good Batista films. So sure. Batista, I know we might work together sometime in the future. I want you to know if you ever find this interview, I got rid of you because I know that you would make it in any other industry apart from wrestling. Okay?
Stop glazing. We've had enough glazing. You already glazed Crush, Tatanka, now Batista. Let's calm down.
Yeah, I'm thirsty, man. What can I say?
All right, now we got a modern day one. It's a female list. The 4 horsewomen. One of them has to go.
Okay, so it's Charlotte, Bailey.
And if you say one, I'm ending this podcast right now. Just saying.
Mercedes Moné and Becky Lynch.
Yeah. If you get rid of a specific one there, this podcast is over. So just keep that in mind. I'm not telling you who. Just keep that in mind.
Okay. All right. Oh, crap.
This is a tough one.
I'm about to make the internet very, very angry.
I have my answer.
Okay, let's hear yours.
No, I'll wait for you. I want you to break this down and what you're thinking about. I don't want to just give you mine and then you just agree.
Okay, I'm about to make the internet very, very angry, especially the first part of the internet, and I apologize. But my first pick, and I know she's not having the best run right now, but it's not her fault. I'm saving Mercedes Moné. I really like her.
I was gonna get her out of there.
Always. Really, I really like her, man. I will always defend her. I think that people forget how good that Bianca Belair Sasha Banks match was. People forget how good the original Bayley and Sasha Banks feud was. So I gotta save Mercedes Moné. I love her to pieces. Controversial, I know, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate from the internet, but you cannot deny how important Charlotte Flair is.
You can't get rid of Charlotte Flair. You cannot.
She's unbelievable. She is unbelievable. Like, honestly, like I don't know if women's wrestling is as far as it is right now without Charlotte.
No.
Genuinely.
She brought a real seriousness to it at a time where at times it wasn't so serious.
She's gonna be like, when all is said and done, like, think about it. No one's saying it out loud, but we miss Charlotte Flair right now.
Oh, I do, 100%.
She would add a lot to the roster right
100%.
Now, this one is very, very, very difficult.
If you pick the wrong one here, this podcast is over.
I know, and I'm about to make the internet very angry. So, like, if this is gonna be my my case to be made. If we're talking wrestling proficiency, if we're talking character, if we're talking the ability to mobilize people in the sense, I mean, she basically gave a platform to two of my favorite wrestlers ever, Io Sky and Asuka, which, like, I will always be grateful for Bayley for that. Like, that is like Damage Control is one of my favorite stables of the last couple of years. But Becky Lynch main eventing that WrestleMania is probably one of my favorite main events ever.
That main event does not happen without Becky Lynch.
Exactly. So
without her run leading up to that, it doesn't happen.
So let me like preface this now.
No, Bayley can go. It's fine. If you said Becky Lynch, I was gonna press end. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Look, Becky's my number one. So.
But I'm going to preface this by saying that Bayley is a phenomenal wrestler. I love her to pieces. I love her work.
Yeah, great.
And I believe that if she never gets into wrestling, same thing as Batista. She becomes an actor. She becomes a producer. She has such an amazing creative mind. Wrestling is just something she happened to find. That's my opinion. But yeah, I love Mercedes. I love Charlotte. I love Becky Lynch.
Okay, let's get back. I did have a couple more, but we're running a bit long, so let's get back into the Hulk stuff.
Come on, one more. Give a crazy
let's fly through it. A crazy one. Stone Cold.
Yeah.
The Rock. Bret Hart. Shawn Michaels.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Stone Cold, Rock, Bret, Shawn. All right. Okay. I can't get rid of Stone Cold. Just can't.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
I grew up with it. I grew up on him. Like, he's the guy. And and the thing is that there's a lot of people that you can debate who's the GOAT. I don't know if you can debate if Stone Cold's the GOAT. He made the most money. He had amazing technical matches with Ricky Steamboat. He was a phenomenon in the sense of that there's a lot of people who have never watched wrestling. They know who Stone Cold.
100%.
And he's one of the guys that I think there's not a lot of controversy about him in the sense of that when you argue about him, what comes up? A little bit from his personal life and the fact that his heel turn sucked. That's it.
Literally. The
rest, you can't say anything else about him.
Yeah.
So the second thing I'm going to say is, oh, God, I hate this.
Can I say something? I don't think Stone Cold gets as big as he is without The Rock.
But I don't think that Stone Cold gets as big as he does without two guys, Bret and Shawn.
I've got one that I'm going to get rid of here, but it hurts me.
Okay, I have to say The Rock because he's the biggest celebrity ever. Like he's the reason that half the people in the world know about wrestling. You know, he's the guy. Like he's the biggest star that wrestling's ever made. Like
I was gonna say Brett.
Okay, but here's the thing.
It hurts me.
We now have to choose between Brett and Sean.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets tough for me because my opinion on Brett and Sean changes with the season.
Yeah. And whatever you feel like. Are you into the selling, the high action, the flair in the ring, or are you feeling a little bit of technical wrestling on the day? That's how I switch between Sean and Brett.
Okay. This is going to once again piss off the internet, and it's also going to shock some people who know me, who've like wrestled with me or like talked to me about wrestling. Like if Steez is watching, he's going to fall off his chair here. But I'm going to say Sean is my number 3, and I'm going to get rid of Brett.
That's
which
what I was
is
saying.
Insane. No, which is insane. I know.
It is.
I know. But here's my reason for it. Brett has and always will be the best wrestler ever. Just a fact. He just always has been. But the thing about his career is that he's like Superman. He's unattainable because no one is going to be that good. No one is going to be that like modest and down to earth and honest. Which, because he's unattainable, he's unrelatable. Sean was very, very troubled, was very, very talented, turned his life around at a late stage in his life to become a new man who is now not only celebrated for more of the good he did than the bad, but he's now also coaching the next generation of stars. For God's sake, we've got amazing talents. Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, Roxanne Perez, like these amazing talents.
Yeah.
Braun Breaker, who are coming out of NXT. And NXT 2.0 in the beginning, people laughed at that stuff because they were like, what is this? And now it's like arguably one of the best like promotions on the planet right now.
Beat AEW
and
in the ratings.
It did. And I love Brett. I will always love Brett. But I don't know, man. Sean is my dude. And also Sean, he's part of the clique, so of course I got to give it to Sean.
So you're about to get a whole bunch of hate, but we'll move. Let's move on to the Hulkster now. And I think we've got to just fly a little bit through this because we already had an hour and a half of this podcast.
To be fair, there wasn't a lot to talk about.
So Hogan comes out. No, Vince starts in the ring, introduces Hulk Hogan. He comes out, banger theme song, guilty pleasure theme song.
Yep, real American, absolutely.
That slaps. He starts off with the Yeah, so he starts off with the you know something, Vince McMahon, and then he does. Then I'm like, okay, we got red and yellow, full on vitamins. Say your prayers, Hulk Hogan. Now forget about that one we had in the interview. This is the Hulk Hogan everybody knows. Okay. So they basically just have a discussion about Brutus Beefcake. That's what this whole thing is about. Brutus getting taken out the previous week by Money Incorporated. We learned it's not that serious, even though we already complained about that last week. He just has a broken nose. That's apparently all it is. Hogan says that he's at home, he's okay. And I put in my notes here, Mr. Stumble Over Your Words, because Hogan was stumbling a lot in this promo for some reason.
It was interesting. It was very interesting.
I think he's used to cutting 30-second promos and not 15, 20-minute long promos like he did here tonight. This promo went on for a long time. I don't know how you feel, but I thought it was way too long, especially for the type of show that Raw was at this time.
I'll say something, though. It was interesting. And the reason I say it was interesting is because we have never seen Hulk Hogan like this before. Sure. First thing, he comes out, he is very, very light in comparison to the Hogan that we're used to.
Yeah.
Like he's like very, very slender, very sort of like svelte more than just jacked. And the promo, I think what was interesting is that Hogan is used to, like you said, short bursts. Let me tell you something, brother. Da 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 da. But this was interesting because he was kind of yelling, but he was still speaking in a very natural register. And a lot of the stuff that he was speaking about was like exposition, which Hogan doesn't usually have to do. Yeah. Usually you'd have Mean Gene would be like, well, the tragic events of this happened. How does that make you feel? Whereas this was, Hogan had to explain the attack on Money Incorporated.
Exactly.
By Money Incorporated.
Yeah.
He had to explain that Brutus is coming back. He had to explain that they were forming a tag team. And look, it wasn't a good promo, not a chance. The mic that was constantly giving feedback was hilarious because I was just like, wow. So that happens to WWE as well, huh? But I think where I was interested is I thought it's a pity we didn't get more of this Hogan, because I think that a skinnier Hogan who's like a little more humble, a little more like brought down to earth by kind of like the events, working in like a new unfamiliar role.
Could have been.
I don't know, man. There could have been something in there.
If we saw a bit of vulnerability to him and all of that, I think it could have been good.
Exactly. Yeah. I found that so interesting, and it's a pity that they never like grabbed onto that. But he calls out his best friend in the whole world, his friend to the end, Brutus, the Bionic Man, Beefcake. And he walks out strutting.
Don't forget about the part where he thanked Jimmy Hart. So he thanked God and he thanked Jimmy Hart. Yeah. This is before Brutus, though. Have I jumped ahead? Have I jumped ahead?
You have jumped ahead. So Brutus comes out and he...
wait,
you know what?
Sorry. I've just read something in my notes. It's hilarious. I said, I feel like Vince is just staring at that mustache the whole time. Because he's just looking at Hogan. Yeah. I don't know what was going through his head, but
He's going, oh my God, please save my company, please. But so Brutus comes out, and very interestingly, Brutus cuts a very impassioned promo, pretty much the same thing that Hogan said. Yep. But I think Brutus did better than Hogan here. Honestly, I think that like he was impassioned, but he was the second best promo of this segment, because now they decide to call out someone who was supporting them, someone who Hogan thanked, Mr. Jimmy Hart. And I gotta say, this promo by Jimmy Hart was really, really good. It was impassioned.
Yeah.
His voice was shaking, and he was saying that I've waited my whole life to tag with you, baby. I'm like, and I'm telling you right now that when I'm in your corner, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, I'm going to think about how we are going to take and be the best tag team champions ever. And I'm like, oh man, that's such a good promo. It's a pity none of that's true.
None of that.
But it was like really, really good. And then that is when they lean into their name, which is, we're going to call ourselves the Mega Maniacs, brother.
Terrible. Terrible.
Which there was one or two lines that I will move on for this, because I mean that's all it was. It was just the formation of the Mega Maniacs. Jimmy Hart's with them, but there were three lines in this promo that just made me.
I've got one. I wonder if you're gonna say it. Go for it.
Okay, I could not stop laughing. But he says, because I'm going to tell you right now. And he does the CM Punk and AEW first promo line where he says, I'm in the WWF and I'm back for good. No. No, you're not, bud.
But when he says that, he calls Vince McMahon little dude. That killed me. You know what, little dude? Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean? That's your boss.
Well, you know that Vince just punched a wall when he got backstage.
He little me little. Yeah.
But that was the one line I did pick on that. But then the other line that I really liked is when Hogan was calling out Money Incorporated, he accidentally said, instead of we're gonna take on Ted DiBiase and IRS, he said, we're gonna take on the IRS, like he's gonna take on like the tax body of America.
That's funny.
Which I was like, okay, Valvinus, like calm down, like. So that was just like, it was just like a little snafu. But the problem with Hogan is that whatever he says now is like based in speculation, just because it's the old Batman quote. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
100%.
But even
that
though
was
we
pretty
only
much
had
that.
Even though we only had 90 seconds left in this match, left in this card, we still got one more match, don't we?
Yeah, we had Undertaker versus Skinner, and I'm gonna be honest, this
Skinner,
this disappointed me. Okay.
Oh yeah,
because I really wanted to see a match between Undertaker and Skinner, and we didn't get it.
Sure about that? Are you sure?
I'm not. I can't even say it with a straight face. This match started and then it ended. Literally. They went to a break, came back to tell us that the show is over. We'll let you know next week what the result is. Can I tell you something?
No, Can
I tell you something?
Yeah.
They don't tell us next week what the result is.
No, they don't. No, they don't. I skipped ahead as well. Like they don't say anything. And honestly, I've got two things that I loved. I love the absolute like piss take of them going away to commercial, coming back, then going to another commercial with Slim Jim, and then they ended the show. That's was the first piss take that I loved. Yeah. And the second thing is like I skipped ahead just to watch the next episode because I was curious, much like you. And they never referenced it. Like it just never happened.
Yep.
But what I did like is that this show ended on a high with, and I'm not talking about the axe handle that Taker gives to Skinner. It ended on my favorite advert of just Randy Savage going, "Chips! Ah!" Slapping something spicy and meaty and exciting. And that was Raw.
That was Raw.
That was Raw, yeah.
There were some parts of the show I enjoyed. There were some parts I did not enjoy. I think I made that very clear today.
I was forced entertained, dude. I like this episode, man.
I'm glad you did. There was not a single good match in this episode, but we'll take that.
Not even the 6-man tag.
No, Tatanka was in it.
Oh my gosh, your hatred. That's so funny.
It is serious. I do not like him whatsoever.
Okay. Agree to disagree, I suppose.
What do you think of this? Well, you've already told me what you think of the show, but do you think we'll have a better show next week?
I've watched ahead, and from what I've seen, the first match slaps. Everything after that, it's okay. That's all right.
Okay. I remember watching the show like a very long time ago, and that's how I remembered they said nothing about Taker and Skinner, but I don't remember what happened on the show. So,
which is sad because according to Dave Meltzer, it was actually a 5-star Iron Man match in which Skinner won with a moonsault, which is, but I guess we'll never know,
Moonsault. Crazy. Did it happen in the Tokyo Dome, though? Like, did they wrestle all the way to the Tokyo Dome? Because that's the only way I could see him giving it 5-star.
No, that's true. Yeah, I guess it was only 3.5. Yeah, that's so snippy. So snippy.
So, with that being said, I think we can end off today's episode. It's a bit of a long one, but hopefully you guys enjoy it while you listen to us, while you probably do your dishes or do whatever you're doing, because I know nobody's going to look at my face for an hour and a half. Certainly not yours. Oh no, you're in movies. People do look at your face for longer than an hour and a half.
Yeah, but not for an hour and a half. Yeah, it's usually like 5 minutes and then I die. That's my usual. I'm the Sean Bean of South African cinema. But yeah, so I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who tuned in, who's watching this, as Ricky said, while you're folding laundry or like doing your groceries or whatever. We really appreciate it, and it truly is quite humbling to see how many of you actually like tune in and watch and engage with us. And listen, like we are doing this because we love chatting about wrestling, and we'd love to hear from you guys. So like if you have any old school matches you want us to watch, if you have any like weird opinions of like old school wrestling that you didn't know about before we spoke about it, if you've got like match recommendations, like hit us up, hit us 100%. Up on the Stomp Wrestling Retrospective YouTube page. Hit Ricky up on the Stomp. Hit Ricky up on the Stomp Wrestling parent page. If you want to contact me, listen, I will never ever turn down a DM to talk about wrestling. Even if you shoot me a DM in the middle of the night saying like, "Hey, have you seen this like Scott Hall versus Tanahashi match like from 2001?"
Is that your favorite type of booty?
It's one of my favorite kinds. Like, you know, like someone's like, you up? Do you want to fool around? It's interesting. But if someone wants me to come over and watch like Triple Mania from 1997, that's
you
my
want to watch Undertaker versus Skinner for 90 seconds?
Oh my God! Well, honey, with me, you only need 90 seconds. So if you want to hit me up, I'm at What's Potting, WHATSPOTTING. I basically just post like food that I'm eating in Japan. But like, if you want to chat about all things wrestling, hit me up, man. Like, I'm always keen to chat.
He's a nice guy.
All right.
As much as he may seem like he has terrible wrestling opinions, especially when it comes to Crush and Tatanka, he's not bad.
I'm gonna win you over on that.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Take care.